The hardest part about deconstructing whiteness is realizing that you're racist. And the problem that people have, and I had this too, is that when I think of racism, I think of, like KKK, I think of, violence, right? Things that I never participated in. But that's some of the extreme expressions of it. And if you haven't deconstructed it, you invariably have these structures in your mind because that's the culture that we live in. So recognizing that you have this racial hierarchy programmed into your identity and concept of reality and relationship to reality, that's the hard part. So how do you recognize it? I'll get more into detail on that later, but I just wanted to say first that racial hierarchy is what we're talking about here. Racism is the idea that there is an inherent racial hierarchy, and there's a spectrum of that from extreme violence to just simple othering and seeing yourself as superior inherently and assuming superiority. One of the most obvious examples of that to me is when you're against slavery, but when you hear about slavery in Congo or something like that, you don't care. That's because they're othered. And that means that if it were to happen to a neighborhood child, you would care. But because it's happening to a child in Congo, you don't care because they're not part of your in-group. They're othered. And that is essentially racism, and that is every person who's socialized as white is inherently racist because they have a racial hierarchy that others people who are not white. And that's what we're trying to deconstruct.